Hello, I'm Jameson, and today we're going to talk about facial recognition. I'm sure many of you have seen these stories in the news about facial recognition, but I think few people realize how pervasive and accurate this technology actually is. What we're going to do is look at the United States first and how facial recognition is being used currently in the US. I think a lot of people are going to be shocked at how common facial recognition currently is and what it's being used for. Then we're going to look at China and how their government is using this technology to create a surveillance state.
The face recognition model can measure the distance between your eyes, the width of your lips, the distance from your lips to your nose, etc. At the end of that process, we are left with a simple text, which is the basis of our recognition.
The software has the power to identify one face from millions in under 1 second.
Our accuracy under a controlled environment is around 99%.
And it's this precision that makes the technology an effective new tool for surveillance.
But there's a lot of misconceptions about facial recognition that it's not very accurate. I've seen a video myself on YouTube of these two Asian women who were able to get into each other's phones. Maybe that's just because they're Asian. Who knows? The reality is this technology has progressed extremely fast. As you just heard, it's 99% accurate, identifying one face from millions within seconds. Let's see who's currently using this technology in the US.
We can identify people without them knowing that they are being identified. We have clients ranging from medical centers, retail chain stores, churches. We have one school where teachers took 2 long breaks. Therefore, the management decided to put them on the watch list.
I'm here almost every day. Same coffee shop, same order.
Yeah, I think I'll have the Mad Cat today.
It's not surprising they recognize me here. But what if that happened any time I shopped? Anywhere. All you'd need to make that happen is a camera and the right algorithm.
Stores identifying you every single time you come in by your face. Where have I seen that before?
Hello, Mr. Yakamoto. Welcome back to the Gap. How those assorted tank tops work out for you?
Oh, just a movie about an authoritarian government putting people in jail before they actually committed any crimes. Nothing to worry about. Let's see how else it's being used.
So where are we here?
Philadelphia. So this is people walking into a grocery store.
These aren't your average surveillance cameras. These shoppers don't know it, but a computer is scanning their faces and comparing their features to those of known shoplifters. It's called facial recognition, and it's happening at stores across North America.
How many of you realize that you may be going to a church that are using facial recognition to identify how often you're going to church? I bet you nobody. How many of you knew every time you go into Walmart, they're using facial recognition technology to identify shoplifters? This is all legal. There's no laws on the books preventing stores and churches from doing this, but there are rules. There was a set of guidelines created by Facebook and Walmart to police how they're using this facial recognition technology. This doesn't bother me because I don't have to use Facebook, I don't have to use Walmart. I could shop other places, I do not have a Facebook. So them using it doesn't really affect me. And if enough people felt the way I did and Walmart lost customers because people stopped going there because they're using this technology, they'd stop using it. What bothers me is when governments start using this technology without people knowing, because I don't have a choice. I have to deal with the government, especially today. They're bigger than ever.
Then there's facial recognition, where a police officer can just take a photo of you with an iPad and then immediately run it through a database to see who you are. That's already being used in Seattle and Tampa.
We were surprised to learn that nearly half of American adults are in facial recognition databases. What is law enforcement doing with your mug? Jeff Pegues takes a look.
The facial recognition technology locks on once you're in range.
It's putting the green box around us and then displaying our names.
Benji Hutchinson works for NEC, a company that sells the software. So there are cameras like this on the streets.
There are.
Cameras equipped with the software can match a person's face to others in a database.
So that video was from 2016, and in 2016, half of the US population was in a police database. I'm sure it's much higher now. Let's see exactly what the cops are doing with all of our faces.
With the advent of cell phones and more people installing surveillance cameras, we were seeing more and more cases where all we had was surveillance video but had little else to go on.
The technology that NeoFace allows us to have puts that over the top. It's truly a layer that we have never experienced before.
When our investigators get a case and they have surveillance footage from the offense, we're able to take that surveillance footage, feed it into our NeoFace program, and quickly identify suspects. They have had subjects that they could not identify, and they were confident we're lying to them about their identity. They were able to take a photo in the field and send it to us, and within minutes we were able to identify the suspect for them.
It could have helped after the Boston Marathon bombing. Investigators there had to sift through 120,000 photos and nearly 13,000 videos before identifying Dzhokhar Tsarnaev. It would have led to the suspect sooner?
Absolutely, it would have dramatically decreased the lead time. We could have gotten the match in seconds.
In Baltimore, the police department used facial recognition during the 2015 riots to identify looting suspects.
This technology allows us to truly provide police service without necessarily providing police officers out there on the street.
So the way this is being sold is for your safety. Remember when the bomb went off in Boston? They could have identified the suspects a few hours earlier. And then in the riots in Baltimore, they could have found the suspects who were looting a little bit easier. It also saved departments a few extra bucks and stopped the police from, going in the community and protecting and serving. Some people might say that's their job, but the facial recognition can do it for them. These are great, great, great reasons why we need mass surveillance on 380 million people. However, it's not just your local PD using this technology.
We are on the move this morning at Tampa International Airport. They will soon be making big changes for travelers leaving the country.
The goal is to replace passports and boarding passes with technology that actually scans your face before getting on a plane. News Channel 8's Corey Davis is walking us through this process. He joins us now live at Tampa International Airport. Corey, this is all in the beginning stages, but still it's so cool.
So cool. Let's see how somebody who went on one of these planes felt about it. A woman named Mackenzie Fagan tweeted, "I just boarded an international JetBlue flight. Instead of scanning my boarding pass or handing over my passport, I looked into a camera before being allowed down the jet bridge. Did facial recognition replace boarding passes unbeknownst to me? Did I consent to this?" It doesn't sound like you did, Mackenzie, but she also asked a great question. Follow-up question. Presumably these facial recognition scanners are matching my image to something in order to verify my identity. How does JetBlue know what I look like? JetBlue responded, "The information is provided by the United States Department of Homeland Security from existing holdings." So the Department of Homeland Security just has all of our faces? How is that possible? Well, we'll look at their website to tell us. It states, "Secure driver's licenses and identification documents are a vital component of our national security framework. The Real ID Act, passed by Congress in 2005, enacted by the 9/11 Commission's recommendation that the federal government set standards for issuance of sources of identification, such as driver's licenses."
When the federal government created the Real ID program in 2005, drafters thought they had an ace in the hole to get states on board. If a state chose not to adopt the new federal standards for driver's licenses, that state's residents could be effectively prohibited from air travel throughout the United States.
The last thing I want to do is punish citizens of a state who would love to have a Real ID driver's license and can't get one because the state has voted to opt out of the program.
All 50 states were given a choice to comply with the federal government's mandate, or their citizens could not travel using airplanes. You'll never guess what all 50 states did. You'll see from the Department of Homeland Security's website as of May 5th, 2019, all but 6 states are currently compliant, and the remaining 6 will be compliant by the end of 2019. So what that means is by the end of 2019, if you have a driver's license in the United States, your face is in the Department of Homeland Security's database. So what? Who cares? Great question. For that, we'll look at China to see how dangerous it can be when the government obtains this type of information.
ID cards loaded with personal details are used to track people's movements. Residents have different levels of freedom based on factors like ethnicity and religious practices.
我们可以追溯到说，出现每一张脸都可以对应说他的身份证，以及他所经过，比方说在过去1周，我们回溯他的行经路程，我们也做了像人和车的匹配。那同时在人上匹配还包括亲属关系匹配，然后是你经常接触人员之间匹配。就是当摄像机布到或者我们传感器布到一定密度的时候，其实我们会经常知道你跟谁经常在一起。
The system also tracks faces. An immense network of security cameras, some equipped with facial recognition, is constantly monitoring the streets. Facial recognition systems are also used to match people with their ID cards, everywhere from shopping malls to gas stations. Authorities use artificial intelligence that can alert them if someone in a video is walking too fast or parked in the wrong spot.
That seems a little bit scary, but I mean, nothing too crazy. Let's see what the Chinese government has to say about it.
We are pioneering artificial intelligence research and innovation in the hope of creating a safer, faster, and healthier world.
对平民老百姓是老百姓需要帮助的时候，我们才会录入这套系统。那他不需要帮助的这种情况，那么我们是不需要采集他的信息的。那这种信息只是在我们大数据里面有他的信息就行了。那在什么时候使用，是根据我们的需要来做这项工作的。
If you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear.
对，是这样。所以说，老百姓应该不用担心。
So they're doing it to help their citizens, to make them safer, happier, making sure that there's no criminals roaming the streets. Frankly, it sounds amazing. What could go wrong?
到处都是监控，每天装甲车啊、一些坦克啊，在社区里面走来走去，也没有具体的法律规定，没有它的一些尺寸。
In the future, the government plans to aggregate even more data and build a predictive policing program that imposes even tighter controls here.
Recognition, they can read people's emotions, and we are actually now working on these innovative demonstrations and technology.
And Minority Report has officially become real life. The Chinese government is actually planning on running a system where they're able to arrest citizens before they do anything wrong. However, that's several years into the future. Let's take a look at what they're doing to citizens right now.
Hong Shunquai is a former magazine editor who was ousted by the government. He feels like he's under constant surveillance.
我最担心的是我个人的所有的这个行动行为，我都会被监控到，这是非常可怕的一个事情。
Already the authorities are using facial recognition to name and shame citizens, even for minor offences like jaywalking. In Beijing, they're using the technology to prevent people stealing rolls of loo paper from public toilets. And across China, police officers are now trialling sunglasses and body cameras loaded with facial and gesture recognition technology. It's helping them to identify wanted suspects in real time.
Am I having deja vu?
It would have led to the suspect sooner.
Absolutely, it would have dramatically decreased the lead time. We could have gotten the match in seconds.
Whether people want to believe it or not, with facial recognition and a database already established, the US is not that far off from being China. And the way the Chinese government uses this technology is to target people they deem threats to their political power.
Some of those most at risk in this hyper-surveillance future are the ethnic minorities in China. In Xinjiang province, the Chinese government is wary of the separatist threat posed by the Muslim Uyghur population. According to local NGOs, An estimated 1 million Uyghurs are being detained indefinitely in secretive internment camps where some are being subject to abuse. It's been called the largest mass incarceration of a minority population in the world today. The authorities are using facial recognition cameras to scan people's faces before they enter markets. The system alerts authorities if targeted individuals stray 300 meters beyond their home.
So we're here in Urumqi, which is the capital of Xinjiang, in a market downtown. The security here is incredibly tight. There are armored cars on the street, police stations on every corner, and tons of surveillance cameras. In the past year, police have stepped up security. The region is now under what's probably the most intense government surveillance in the world. To be in Xinjiang means being checked every day, multiple times a day. When you go to a market, when you drive a car, when you take a train, even your smartphone is checked. Daily life can be exhausting even for people who approve of the security, like this wine shop owner we met.
非常麻烦，就会给人造成一种困扰。人一旦有了困扰，他就不愿意去干这个事。对，就像我喜欢逛街，但是我一去逛街就要查个身份证的话，有造成的困扰，我就不愿意上街了。
The surveillance apparatus falls hardest on Uyghurs. Parhat Imin sells pomegranate juice in the streets of Urumqi. He used to sell Islamic items, but after ethnic riots in 2009, the police forced him to close his shop. Imin has had run-ins with authorities since. He was once sent to jail for buying hashish. Now, he says every time he goes through a checkpoint, his ID sets off an alarm. Imin says authorities are targeting him because he's Uyghur. The government didn't respond to requests for comment.
这个表格呢，就是发到每一个人的手里。这边有很多信息，他的民族身份、维吾尔族、无业人员、有护照、每日礼拜，这是给人打分，判断这个人是放行人员还是一般人员还是不放行人员。
Hamat and other Uyghurs in exile say people categorized as unsafe were sent to study centers for political education. We found one of the so-called schools buried down a rural road on the outskirts of Kashgar. It was newly built and looked more like a prison, with watchtowers and walls topped with razor wire.
这是说白了，就是集中营。这个时候就通过监控来指定抓什么样的人。
The government didn't respond to our request for comment, but Hamat says many more people are being detained today than in the past.
很多人他不知道为什么被抓，不知道把他送到哪里，不知道什么时候放出来。
So the Chinese government is using their IDs and facial recognition technology to identify, shame, and in some cases put people in internment camps that they deem political threats. People in the United States and throughout the world need to realize is we are not that far off from turning into China. We already have the ID system in place. We already have the facial recognition technology in place. All it would take is for the US to vote in some power-hungry Hitler type and it'd be over. There would be no real way to oppose these people, and that's a very, very, very dangerous position to be in as a country, and people need to understand this. If you made it all the way to the end, thank you very much for watching. Like, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts on the current state of the US and the facial recognition technology. I hope people share this because there's a lot of information in here that people should know about what's happening in our country today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave you with a video from the great Julian Assange, a man who gave up his entire freedom to expose a lot of the corruption that is happening around the world today.
I say that this generation, or that perhaps our generation, but anyway, this generation being born now, in seconds in most countries, very shortly in most countries, and it's already happened in say, China, most European countries, United States, is the last free generation. You were born, and either immediately or within, say, a year, you're known globally. Your identity in one form or another, coming as a result of your idiotic parents plastering your name and photos over Facebook, or as a result of insurance applications or passport applications, transport on airlines, etc. You are known to all the world's major powers, all the world's major state powers, and all the world's major commercial powers. That's a very different situation for individuals to be in than they have previously been in. That a small child now, in some sense, has to negotiate its relationship with all the world's major powers. Of course, in practice, it can't do anything. Its parents are not managing that negotiation. But it puts us in I think, a very different position in the sense that very few, in fact, maybe only a few people in this audience, very technically capable people, are able to able to live apart, to choose to live apart, to choose to go their own way. They must be part of not only the state, but the major state-like corporations, so powerful they may as well be states, and not just their own state, but other states as well. That's a significant change, cultural change for humanity.